Welcome back to Science in Sleeping. I'm so glad you're here tonight. We're going to drift together into one of the quietest and most fascinating mysteries on Earth, the secret, hidden intelligence of plants, a world that never sleeps, yet moves and breathes with a rhythm so slow and subtle. Most of us never notice it at all, but tonight we will. Maybe you're listening from your bed, lights dimmed, the soft glow of your screen fading into the dark. Maybe you've had a long day filled with noise, notifications, or endless thoughts that refuse to quiet down. You're not alone. Every night, thousands of people all over the world join this community. People who, like you, crave not just rest, but a sense of wonder as they drift toward dreams. People who want to fall asleep not by escaping their mind, but by gently expanding it. So, welcome wherever you are. Whether it's early evening in your city or well past midnight, take a slow breath in, let it out. Feel the soft weight of your body against the bed. Let your shoulders drop. Your hands rest loosely by your side. You don't have to focus on anything right now. You don't even need to remember what we talk about. This is your permission to simply listen, relax, and float. Because tonight's story is not just about plants. It's about awareness, connection, and the invisible intelligence that hums through every living thing. For centuries, we've looked at plants as background, quiet, passive, unthinking, but modern science and ancient wisdom alike are beginning to tell us a different story. A story of communication, of perception, even of memory. A story that asks a softly radical question. Could plants, in their own way, be alive with awareness? As we travel through this episode, we'll explore the delicate science of how roots share messages beneath the soil. We'll listen to the gentle whispers of trees as they signal to one another through networks older than civilization. We'll wonder about the ways flowers sense light and time. And we'll drift through the quiet wisdom of forests that have stood for thousands of years. Breathing, sensing, remembering, but you don't need to keep up or stay awake. You don't need to analyze or understand every detail. Let these words be like leaves falling through your thoughts, soft, slow, and weightless. If your mind wanders, that's perfectly okay. If you fall asleep, that's even better. Your body will still listen. Your mind will still know. So take another deep breath in, feel the air move through your chest. And as you exhale, let go of everything that doesn't serve you tonight. Let go of the tension in your forehead, the small worries that cling like dust to your day. Let them settle, because from here, we're stepping into the green hush of another kind of world. A world without words or footsteps, where time moves differently, and where life, though silent, is anything but still. Now, settle in, get comfortable, close your eyes if you haven't already. Let the soft hum of nature guide you into stillness. And let's begin our journey into the hidden intelligence of plants. Have you ever wondered what a tree might say if it could speak? What messages travel between their roots beneath the quiet forest floor? If you could listen, truly listen, to the slow murmuring language of the earth, what would you hear? Would it be words or something older, something woven into the chemistry of life itself? Picture yourself lying on a forest floor at night. The stars glimmer faintly through the canopy above. Moonlight spills across moss and bark. You can feel the ground beneath you, damp and pulsing softly. If you were to press your ear against the soil, you might hear nothing at first, just the faint echo of your own breath. But deep below, far beneath your hearing, something extraordinary is happening. A network of roots, fungi, and microorganisms are whispering, sending coded messages through filaments thinner than a strand of hair, passing information, warnings, nourishment. It is not noise, not random, but language, slow, silent, structured. Scientists call it the mycorrhizal network, a symbiotic system that connects most plants on Earth through microscopic threads of fungi. These threads link trees to each other like neurons in a vast underground brain. Through them, a forest becomes more than a collection of individual plants. It becomes a single, connected organism. When one tree feels stress from drought, insects, or disease, it sends chemical signals through this fungal highway. Nearby trees detect the signal and begin preparing their own defenses. Even trees of different species, a pine can warn a birch. A birch can nourish a struggling fir. All of it happens silently, unseen, beneath your feet. When scientists injected radioactive carbon into one tree's leaves, they found that within hours the carbon had moved underground, shared through fungal threads, and appeared in neighboring trees that stood meters away. Food shared like compassion, resources exchanged like kindness. A living forest taking care of its own. But not all exchanges are generous. In the same network, deception blooms. Some plants, like orchids, use the fungal highway to steal. They draw nutrients from the network without giving anything back. Parasitic, cunning, yet somehow part of the balance. Even among plants, there is rivalry, strategy, and survival. A quiet drama unfolding below our awareness. Each root an actor in the slowest play on Earth. If you could see this world lit up, the soil would glow with threads of light. Golden rivers flowing between roots. Each pulse a message, each shimmer a transaction. It would look like the night sky, stars, and constellations stretching in every direction. Except these stars are alive, breathing, feeding, thinking together. Imagine yourself shrinking small enough to travel inside that hidden realm. You slip past grains of soil like boulders, down into the cool darkness where roots reach and intertwine. You touch a filament of mycelium. It hums faintly beneath your fingertips. You can feel it responding not to sound or light, but to touch. This network can sense pressure, moisture, temperature, even vibration. It can reroute signals when a root is cut. It can prioritize messages based on need. And it can remember which paths lead to sustenance. It is not alive in the way we are, but it is not dead. It is something between a living intelligence diffused across the soil, ancient, unhurried, and aware. For a long time, people dismissed this idea as fantasy. They said plants and fungi couldn't communicate, not without neurons or language. But the evidence kept growing. Chemical signals detected in laboratory chambers, carbon flows measured between unrelated trees, fungal threads rearranging themselves to connect new saplings. And then, the most haunting discovery of all, when the mother tree dies, she releases a final burst of carbon and nitrogen, sending her last reserves into the network, feeding her children, leaving behind not words, but nourishment, a silent farewell that echoes through the roots. Did you know that even the scent of a forest is part of this communication. When trees are wounded, they release airborne chemicals, tiny invisible messengers that carry warnings to others nearby. In an African savanna, when giraffes begin eating one tree's leaves, that tree quickly floods its leaves with bitter tannins, and at the same time, it releases a gas, ethylene, downwind. Other trees smell the warning. They too change their chemistry before the giraffe arrives. A wave of silent defense spreading across the landscape like a whisper of wind. No words, no sounds, only survival, spoken in molecules. And beneath that chemical dialogue lies something even deeper: time. Plants experience time differently than we do. Their sense of now stretches over hours, days, seasons. A tree can begin preparing for winter months in advance. A flower knows the rhythm of bees before the bees arrive. They respond to moonlight, to tides in the groundwater, to the faintest shift in temperature. Every motion, every bloom, perfectly synchronized with the planet's pulse. Close your eyes and imagine the forest breathing, inhaling carbon, exhaling oxygen. Every tree, every blade of grass, adding its rhythm to the chorus. This is not random chemistry. It's symphony, nature's original communication. Each note measured in molecules, each pause lasting a season. If you listen long enough, you begin to sense a pattern, a story told in silence, a living memory that runs through roots and leaves alike. It's easy to forget that we are part of this network too. Every breath we take is a message exchanged with the trees. Our exhale feeds them, their exhale feeds us. We live in constant dialogue with the green world. Even as we sleep, even as we dream, there's a kind of humility in realizing this, that the earth doesn't revolve around human thought, that intelligence takes many forms, some too slow, too subtle for us to see. Maybe the trees know we are here. Maybe they sense our warmth, our movement, our breath. Maybe they don't think about us, but they think with us as part of a greater whole, a network older than words, older than minds. In Japan, there's a practice called forest bathing. People wander into the woods simply to breathe, to listen, to feel the unseen pulse of the trees. It isn't superstition. Science shows that the very chemicals trees release, phytoncides, can calm the nervous system, lower the stress hormone cortisol, slow the heart rate, and ease anxiety. Even from a distance, the forest heals us. The trees communicate their calm through the air we share. Every breath a lullaby, every sigh a reminder. Now, as you lie here listening, let that connection sink deeper. Imagine your body resting in harmony with the soil beneath you, your pulse sinking to the rhythm of the roots, your mind attuned to the language of leaves. You are part of this web too. Every living thing connected by threads of energy, by molecules of breath, by the quiet persistence of life itself. The forest does not need to hurry. It does not need to shout. It simply grows, communicating through time, through decay and renewal, through the endless exchange of giving and receiving. It is not a network of technology, but of trust, a web built not with wires, but with wisdom. So, as you drift deeper into rest, remember that somewhere beneath a distant forest, messages are moving right now. Trees whispering through fungi, roots trading secrets in the dark. A conversation that began long before you were born and will continue long after. The earth is speaking slowly, quietly, constantly. And if you listen with your whole being, you might just hear it breathing back. Now, let your thoughts dissolve like mist among the trees. Let curiosity soften into calm, because from here we journey further into the secret rhythms of how plants not only speak, but sense light, sound, and even emotion. The next story is about perception, about awareness without eyes or ears. So stay relaxed, breathe deeply, and let the forest guide you as we drift into the next chapter of this quiet, green intelligence. Have you ever wondered how a tree knows when to bloom, or how a sunflower finds the sun every morning? Have you ever noticed how some plants close their leaves at night, or how vines seem to reach out as though they can see where they're going? What if these are not coincidences? What if they are signs of something deeper, a hidden form of perception, a kind of awareness that doesn't rely on eyes, ears, or nerves, but on something far older even than sight itself? Imagine now that you're standing in a meadow at dawn. The air is cool and clear. The mist still curls along the ground like soft white silk. All around you, flowers turn slowly toward the light, each petal glistening with dew. You can almost feel the moment the first beam of sunlight touches them. It's as though the whole field exhales, the plants shifting in quiet unison. As if greeting an ancient friend, the sun rises higher, and the meadow begins to hum softly, invisibly, a symphony without sound. Every leaf sensing, adjusting, awakening. For most of human history, we thought plants simply reacted to light, a mechanical process called phototropism. But now we know it's much more than reaction. Plants don't just sense light, they see it in their own strange way. Inside each cell are light-sensitive proteins called photoreceptors. These molecules can detect not only brightness, but color, direction, and even the length of daylight. They tell the plant when to open its leaves, when to flower, when to rest, and when to prepare for the cold to come. Did you know that plants can measure time through light? They keep track of day and night using something very much like our circadian rhythm. Even in total darkness, they continue to follow their internal schedule, opening and closing at the right hours because they remember what light feels like. Their bodies hold the memory of sunlight, not as an image, but as a rhythm, an internal clock that ticks with the turning of the earth. Now imagine this, a single sunflower standing tall in a summer field. All day, it follows the sun's arc across the sky, turning slowly, faithfully. But at night, when the sun sets, it doesn't simply stop. It repositions itself, twisting back toward the east, ready for sunrise, even in darkness. It knows where the light will come from, as though it anticipates tomorrow, waiting for its cue. But light is only one sense. Let's wander deeper into the invisible vibrations that ripple through the air. Because, astonishingly, plants can hear, not in the way we do, but in the way they feel sound. Every vibration that moves through air or soil, the hum of a bee, the whisper of the wind, the soft crunch of footsteps, is a signal. Roots grow toward the sound of running water, even when no moisture is nearby, and when scientists played the low, rhythmic buzz of pollinating bees near unopened flowers, the flowers responded within minutes. Their nectar grew sweeter. They could sense the frequency. They recognized their visitor. and they prepared to be found. Sound, light, touch, all invisible languages of survival. When you brush against a leaf, the plant knows. Tiny electrical pulses, not unlike the signals that move through our nerves. The Mimosa pudica, the sensitive plant, folds its leaves instantly when touched, as if recoiling, and though it has no brain, it can remember whether a touch means harm or safety. In one experiment, after being touched gently many times without injury, the plant stopped reacting. It had learned, it had decided. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine what that kind of awareness must feel like. To be rooted yet sensing everything: vibration, pressure, light, chemistry, gravity, every detail of the environment woven into one continuous perception. No hurry, no distraction, just perfect attunement. Plants live in a world of gradients, not edges, of slow unfolding rather than sharp moments. They are constantly listening to the earth, and the earth speaks back. One of the most mysterious abilities of plants is how they sense direction. How a tiny seed buried in darkness knows which way is up. Even with no light, it grows upward. Its roots dig downward, guided by a sense called gravitropism. Inside each cell are tiny grains, statoliths, that settle under gravity's pull, telling the plant which way is down. If you turn a seedling sideways, it will correct itself within hours. It always knows where home is, always reaching for the sky, always trusting the unseen pull that guides it. Now, think of a vine climbing a wall. It doesn't move randomly. It sways in slow, searching arcs, feeling for something to grasp. When it finds a surface, it curls gently around it. The touch triggers growth hormones. The vine tightens, each movement deliberate, as if the plant is making a choice, reaching out and holding on. Scientists have begun to study these responses as a kind of plant neurobiology, not to say that plants have brains, but that they process information in a way that mirrors. Electrical signals travel through their tissues. Hormones act like chemical messengers. Feedback loops allow them to regulate growth and even make trade-offs. A plant can decide whether to use its energy to grow taller, or to strengthen its roots, whether to bloom now, or wait for better conditions, and all of this without ever moving from where it stands. There's something almost spiritual in that stillness. While we race through moments, plants stretch through centuries. While we chase light, they become it, turning sunlight into life, turning stillness into strength. And perhaps that's why being near them brings us calm. Their way of being seeps into us. Their unspoken patience slows our thoughts. We begin to breathe with them without even realizing it. Did you know that plants even respond to emotion? It sounds impossible, but studies show that when humans speak kindly or play soft music, some plants grow faster. Not because of sound alone, but because vibrations, tone, and breath all change the air around them. They feel the warmth of kindness in a literal way. They thrive in the frequency of calm, in the rhythm of care. We call it coincidence, but perhaps it's connection. Perhaps when we love them, they listen. Now, take a deep breath and imagine the forest again, every leaf sensing your presence, every root aware of your heartbeat through the ground, the air trembling with soundless communication. You are part of this living web. Your breath enters their world. Their exhale becomes yours. You are both listening both sensing, both alive. In this vast conversation of life, awareness does not belong only to the quick or to the loud. It belongs to all things that can feel change, respond, adapt. Remember, it belongs to the slow and the silent, to the trees that reach toward the stars, and to the seeds waiting patiently beneath the soil. Perhaps intelligence is not about thought, but about harmony, not about movement, but about listening, and plants, in their infinite patience, may be the greatest listeners of all. Now, as the night deepens, let that thought cradle your mind. The idea that perception does not always need eyes, that listening does not always need ears, that understanding can exist in silence, in stillness, in green, breathing awareness. You are surrounded by it right now, even as you rest. The plants near your window are sensing the moonlight, their leaves adjusting, their cells glowing faintly with quiet activity. They are alive, they are aware, and they are listening with you. So let that awareness soothe you. Let your body grow heavy, your breath slow, your thoughts scatter like seeds on the wind. Because from here, we'll journey deeper still, into one of the most haunting mysteries of all, how plants remember, and how memory can exist without a mind. So rest easy now. The forest will keep listening, the world will keep turning, and together, we'll continue this quiet exploration, one heartbeat at a time, one breath, as the hidden intelligence of nature unfolds beneath the veil of sleep. Have you ever wondered how memory begins? Not in your mind, but in the quiet, green life that surrounds you. How does a forest recall the pattern of seasons? How does a flower know when winter has ended? How can a being with no brain, no nerves, and no consciousness still remember, still respond, still learn? What if memory is not confined to the mind at all? What if it's a property of life itself, flowing through roots and leaves, through wind and rain, through time? Picture yourself standing at the edge of an ancient forest at dusk. The air is still. The last light spills through the branches in soft gold streaks. The scent of moss and earth fills the air. You hear the slow creak of trees swaying like sleeping giants. This forest has stood here for centuries, through storms, through droughts, through fire, and somehow, every seed it drops carries the story of its past, encoded not in words, but in molecules, in whispers passed from root to root. The forest remembers it. It remembers the hunger of insects. It remembers the rhythm of rain. Scientists used to believe that plants were only reactive, that they followed simple cause and effect. But experiments began to tell another story, a story of learning, of choice, of memory. One of the most mysterious examples comes from a small, humble plant, the Mimosa pudica, known as the sensitive plant. When touched, its leaves fold inward in a blink, as though it's flinching. But what happens when it's touched again and again, and again, with no harm? At first, it recoils, then slower, then not at all. It remembers that the touch is harmless. It learns not to waste energy reacting, and when scientists waited weeks, then touched it again, it still remembered. The response stayed calm, the memory persisted. But how, with no neurons, no brain, no synapses? Where is this memory stored? It turns out that the answer lies deep within the cells. Inside their chemical language, plants record experience, not as images or thoughts, but as molecular imprints, a change in the flow of calcium, a rearrangement of proteins, a shift in the expression of genes. When a plant experiences drought, its cells rewrite themselves, activating specific genes that protect it from dehydration. And even after the drought ends, those genes stay alert, ready for the next time, as if the plant remembers thirst and passes that lesson on to its offspring. This isn't instinct, it's inheritance. It's memory written in code. Imagine for a moment the invisible communication that flows beneath your feet. A network of roots, fungi, and bacteria, the mycorrhizal web, the wood wide web through it. Plants share nutrients, but they also share warnings. When one tree is attacked by insects, it releases chemical signals underground. Neighboring trees pick them up and begin to produce defense compounds before the danger arrives. They remember the signal, they prepare faster the next time. It's as if the forest itself learns, not as individuals, but as one connected mind. Now imagine this network stretching across 1,000 miles, through the roots of ancient oaks, through the moss on stones, through the grass under your feet, every signal rippling like a heartbeat, every leaf trembling with the echo of another's memory. When a forest burns, it regrows in patterns that remember fire. When it freezes, it awakens in ways that remember cold. The land itself carries memory, layer upon layer of experience embedded in soil and seed, waiting for the right season to awaken. Did you know that even flowers have memory? A simple pea plant, for example, can be trained to anticipate danger in one experiment. Researchers paired a light flash with a small puff of air that shook the plant. After several repetitions, the plant began to fold its leaves at the light alone. It remembered the association, like Pavlov's dog, like us. When scientists repeated the test days later, the memory remained. The plant still reacted, still recalled the connection, even with no nervous system at all. How can this be? How can a being that moves in silence and breathes without lungs store the past in its body? The answer, perhaps, is that memory is older than thought, older than life's complexity. It may not need a mind, only a pattern that endures, a signal that changes form but never vanishes. Perhaps memory exists wherever matter can reorganize itself. In neurons, yes, but also in cells, in atoms, in the dance of molecules responding to experience. Maybe the universe itself remembers. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine memory as a kind of music, a resonance left behind after each experience. When you touch a leaf, it vibrates. That vibration leaves an imprint, a lingering echo that changes the plant's next response. And like an instrument, the more it's played, the more its sound evolves. Plants learn the melody of their world. And when the same rhythm returns, a touch, a sound, a light, they remember the tune and play their part in harmony. Now think about seeds, tiny, silent, motionless, yet filled with entire histories. Inside each one lies the memory of generations, of storms survived, of droughts endured, of light cycles repeated endlessly. A seed doesn't need to think about what to do. It simply knows. When warmth returns, it wakes. When cold returns, it sleeps. The knowledge isn't new, it's ancient. 1,000,000 quiet memories nested in its code. Every plant you see today is the sum of all that remembering. Every blade of grass carries the wisdom of its ancestors. There's a haunting beauty in this idea that life learns even without thought. That memory doesn't always need a storyteller. Sometimes it just needs time. Sometimes it just needs to survive. Perhaps in this way, plants remind us of something we've forgotten, that to remember doesn't always mean to dwell. Sometimes it means to adapt, to bend but not break, to bloom again after the frost. They remember the cold not to mourn it, but to grow wiser from it, to emerge stronger, more prepared for the next season of change. As you listen to this, and as your breathing slows, think of your own body, every cell holding its own memories of warmth, of fear, of sunlight and sound. You too are a landscape of living memory, not just in thought, but in every heartbeat, every breath, every renewal. Perhaps that's why being close to nature feels so comforting, because the trees remember what we've forgotten, that the world itself holds us, learns from us, and heals with us. So, as you rest, and your thoughts drift like falling leaves, let the idea of memory soften in your mind. It's not a cage, it's a garden. Every moment you've lived is still growing somewhere inside you, still blooming quietly, still teaching you how to begin again. Like the forest that regrows from ash, like the seed that waits beneath snow, you, too, are part of the great remembering, part of the living intelligence that keeps the universe learning from silence, from stillness, from time itself. And as the night deepens, you can almost hear it, the faint whisper of leaves, the soft pulse beneath the soil, the earth remembering itself through every root and rain and ray of light. And somewhere in that vast memory, your breath joins the rhythm, becoming part of the story, part of the life that never forgets. Because in this world, nothing is ever truly lost. It's only transformed, rewritten, remembered. So rest easy. Let your thoughts settle like seeds in spring soil. Let the quiet take over, for in the stillness of sleep, you are remembering too, and tomorrow you will awaken like the forest, changed, alive, and quietly aware. Have you ever wondered whether trees can talk? Not in words or sounds, but in whispers older than language itself. Have you ever walked through a forest and felt, somehow, that the trees were aware of you, that they knew you were there, watching, breathing, moving between their shadows? What if that feeling wasn't just imagination? What if the trees really are communicating, not through voices, but through scent, through soil, through the invisible threads of life that connect everything beneath your feet? Picture yourself in the heart of a deep, green forest. The air is cool and smells of moss and quiet rain. The sunlight falls through the canopy in shifting pools, a silent ballet of gold and green. You take a step, and the forest exhales. Somewhere nearby, a branch groans softly, a bird calls, then falls silent. And if you listen closely, beneath the sound of the wind, you might sense it, a faint hum, not of machines or music, but of life itself. A whispering web that stretches from root to root, tree to tree, breath to breath. For centuries, we believed trees stood alone, each one an island of bark and leaves, competing for light, growing in quiet isolation. But now, science is revealing something astonishing. The forest is not a collection of individuals. It's a single, living network, an ancient society connected by unseen messengers. And every tree, from the mightiest oak to the smallest sapling, is part of an immense conversation beneath the ground. Where roots weave like rivers through the soil lies one of the planet's greatest communication systems, the mycorrhizal network. Through these tiny, thread-like filaments, trees send and receive chemical messages. They share sugars, water, and warnings. When one tree is attacked by insects, it releases alarm signals underground. Within hours, nearby trees detect those signals and begin to produce defensive chemicals, tannins, resins, compounds that make their leaves bitter and hard to digest. It's as if the forest whispers a warning: danger is near, and the fungi, the silent intermediaries, act as translators, carrying signals farther than roots could ever reach. Scientists call this network the Wood Wide Web, and through it, forests act almost like a single organism, a living mind where each tree plays a role. Some feed the young, sending sugars to shaded saplings through the fungal threads. Others, called mother trees, nurture the growth of seedlings, recognizing their own kind, protecting them, even slowing their own growth so that others might live. It's a form of altruism we never thought possible in plants. And yet, it happens silently, constantly, right beneath our feet. But the forest doesn't just speak underground, it also whispers through the air. When leaves are damaged by insects or drought or disease, they release complex chemical clouds called volatile organic compounds. These airborne molecules drift on the wind, and nearby plants detect them, adjusting their defenses before the threat arrives. A tree chewed by caterpillars might send out a scent that says, "I'm under attack," and its neighbors, even meters away, respond by producing bitter compounds that make them unappetizing. It's a conversation carried on the wind, a language of molecules and intention, invisible to us, but ancient as the forest itself. There are even stories that sound almost mythical, of trees recognizing kin, of forests with personalities. In one experiment, researchers noticed that mother trees send more nutrients to seedlings that share their genetic makeup. They seem to know their own children, even when separated by distance. They favor them, care for them, and when a mother tree dies, it sends its remaining resources, carbon, nitrogen, minerals, through its roots into the network, as a final gift, a legacy, a farewell whisper to the next generation. Remember me. When we walk through forests, we often imagine them still and silent. But beneath that silence, there's a bustling, humming world of exchange, roots tapping like fingers on a living keyboard, molecules passing like coded messages, sugars traded like currency, and all of it moving at a speed too slow for human eyes, but perfectly tuned to the rhythm of the earth. Did you know that when trees grow close together, they sometimes synchronize their flowering, their seed release, even their seasonal rhythms? Scientists call this masting, but perhaps it's more like cooperation, the forest ensuring its survival by acting as one when one tree falls. Its roots continue to live through others, sharing water, sustaining fungi, keeping the pulse of the forest alive. Even in death, the conversation continues. Imagine now that you are lying on the forest floor, looking up through layers of green. The leaves above you sway gently, each one a solar panel, each one a sensor, each one aware, You can almost feel it, the flow of messages passing through the air and soil. Invisible, but endless, like veins of light running beneath the earth. The forest is breathing you in and breathing you out. You are part of its cycle, its language, its memory. There's something humbling in this realization that while we rush through our lives with constant words, the trees are speaking too, but in patience, in presence, in chemistry instead of sound, in collaboration instead of competition. And though their voices are slower, they are no less wise, no less powerful. Perhaps this is why standing in a forest feels like stepping into a temple. Every tree a pillar, every rustle of leaves a prayer, every breath of wind a hymn to time itself. You don't need to understand the language to feel it. It speaks directly to the oldest part of you, the part that remembers being part of the earth, the part that still listens. Even when the world grows too loud, close your eyes and imagine those underground threads weaving beneath your mind, linking thought to thought, memory to moment, connection to stillness. You are part of that web, just as the trees are. We share the same breath, the same molecules, the same ancient conversation, a story told in silence, over centuries, over lifetimes. Now, as your breathing slows and your body grows heavier with rest, let that idea sink into you that even when you feel alone, you are never truly separate. You are connected to everything, to the roots of trees, to the song of leaves, to the quiet pulse of the soil. The earth is speaking always, and if you listen closely, you'll hear it in your heartbeat, in the whisper of wind outside your window, in the soft rhythm of your breath. So rest here, in the conversation that never ends. Let the forest hold you. Let the language of the trees sing you to sleep. Their voices are gentle, but they never forget. They remember every life that's ever leaned against their trunks, every breath ever taken under their shade. They remember you too, now and always, as part of their endless story, the story of connection, the story of the living earth. And when you wake, the forest will still be whispering, patient, ancient, and alive, waiting for you to listen again. Have you ever wondered how the world keeps time? Not through clocks or calendars, but through the quiet pulse of life itself. Before there were humans to measure hours, before the first shadow marked the ground, before the ticking of watches or the beating of drums, the earth already knew how to count, not in numbers, but in light, in rhythm, in the turning of the planet beneath the sun. And within that rhythm, plants became the most faithful timekeepers of all. They move with a patience that we can barely perceive, yet they never lose track of the moment. The same dawn, the same dusk, the same breath between day and night. Every leaf, every petal, every route is tuned to this grand, invisible clock, a pulse that runs not through wires or gears, but through sunlight, water, and the whisper of the air. Picture yourself standing in a meadow just before sunrise. The horizon glows faintly gold, and a soft breeze stirs the sleeping grass. All around you, the plants begin to stir, almost imperceptibly. Their leaves unfurl, their blossoms open, as though they know somehow that light is coming. They don't wait to see it, they anticipate it. It's as if their very cells can feel time approaching, like a memory of the sun returning home. How do they do it? How can something without eyes, without awareness, sense the passage of night and the promise of dawn? The answer lies deep inside them, in tiny molecular clocks ticking inside their cells. These are circadian rhythms, internal cycles that run for about 24 hours. The same pattern that governs our own bodies, the sleep and wake of life itself in plants. These clocks are astonishingly precise. They tell a flower when to open, a leaf when to face the sun, and roots when to draw nutrients from the earth. Even if a plant is kept in constant darkness, it still follows its rhythm, still turns, still waits, still remembers. Scientists once kept bean plants in sealed rooms with no light at all, and still, each morning, their leaves lifted. Each evening they drooped again, as though following an invisible sun. It's not sight that guides them, it's memory, the deep biological anticipation of change, like a soft heartbeat whispering, now, now, now. Every plant has its own pulse, some so subtle they move only once a day, others shifting every few hours. Sunflowers, for example, spend their youth following the sun from east to west, turning slowly through the day. And at night they reset, facing east again before dawn, always ready to greet the morning, even if clouds block the light. They still move because they know the sun's path. They carry it inside them, an unspoken map of light and time. But this sense of time doesn't just tell plants when to move. It tells them when to become, when to bloom, when to rest, when to die. The cycles of day and night extend into the cycles of seasons. Some seeds refuse to germinate until they've felt a certain length of cold. They're counting the days of winter in silence, waiting for warmth to last long enough to promise spring. Too soon, and they would die too late, and they would miss their chance. And so they measure, patiently, faithfully. They wait for the balance of hours to shift, and when it does, they awaken, as if the world had whispered, "It's time." The mechanism behind this miracle lies in the language of light itself. Inside every green cell is a pigment called phytochrome, a molecular sensor that detects the color and intensity of light. During the day, it shifts shape under sunlight, and at night, it slowly reverts. That change becomes a signal, a clock, a memory. The plant reads these signals like words on a page. It knows how long the day has lasted, how deep the night has gone, and what season is unfolding. Through this, it decides when to flower, when to conserve energy, when to sleep. It's a silent conversation between the plant and the sky, a dialogue of photons and cells, of rhythm and response. There is something mesmerizing about the way they do this, without rush, without doubt, always on time, always in tune. While we fill our lives with alarms and schedules, plants simply know. They sense time not as numbers, but as flow, as feeling. Perhaps they remind us that the deepest intelligence is rhythm, the ability to move with the world, not against it. And yet, there are moments that feel almost supernatural, like the acacia trees of Africa, that release defensive chemicals in perfect synchrony, as if timed by an unseen conductor, or the lotus, that opens at the same moment every day, down to the minute. Ancient monks used lotus blossoms to mark their prayers, using the flowers as clocks long before watches existed. The lotus never failed, not once, because nature's clock never lies. In the dense forests of the north, there are trees that sense when the days shorten. Even before the first chill of autumn, they begin to withdraw nutrients from their leaves. Preparing for winter, they turn golden, then crimson, then let go. The timing is perfect, so precise that it repeats year after year, even if the weather shifts. Even if the light falters, the trees remember. They have learned the pattern of their place, the rhythm of their earth. Close your eyes and imagine that rhythm flowing through you to the same cycle that turns the planet, that pulls the tides, that tells your body when to wake and when to rest. It's the same pulse that hums through the leaves, that stirs in the soil, that whispers in your heartbeat. You and the trees are following the same clock, the same music, different instruments, but one melody. And perhaps that's why time feels different in nature, why an hour in the forest feels endless, and a minute in the city feels lost out there. We sync again with the original rhythm, the one that doesn't demand, doesn't hurry, doesn't measure. It simply is. It breathes, it waits, it continues. So as you lie here now, listening to this story as night drifts deeper, let that rhythm settle into you. Let the sense of time soften. You don't need to chase the clock tonight. You don't need to remember what hour it is, because your body already knows. Your cells are keeping time. Your breath is a pendulum. Your heartbeat a metronome. You are already in tune, already part of the ancient flow that governs all life. The plants don't fear the passing of days. They don't cling to moments. They simply continue. They move with the light. They trust the dark. They rest when the time comes, and begin again without question. They live by rhythm, by trust, by surrender. And maybe that's the truest intelligence of all. As the stars move overhead and the air grows cool and still, imagine the entire planet breathing together, every leaf turning slightly toward the moonlight, every root pulsing faintly with life, the same pattern, the same pulse, the same memory of light that has guided them for 1 billion years. And beneath it all, you, too, are breathing with them, perfectly timed, perfectly connected. Now let your thoughts drift. Let the rhythm carry you, like sunlight across a leaf, like a shadow moving through the forest. The night will keep its own time. You only have to rest, and let the earth remember for you, because it always does, and always will. Even when you sleep, the rhythm continues, soft, eternal, and infinitely patient. Have you ever wondered if the world around you hums with hidden music, a symphony so quiet you cannot hear it with your ears? Yet it surrounds you, moves through you, and perhaps in ways we are only beginning to understand. It resonates through all life, even the life rooted in the soil. Have you ever touched a leaf and felt it tremble under your hand? Or noticed a flower bending slightly toward a sound, a vibration in the air too subtle to hear? What if plants are listening, not like we do, not with ears, but with every fiber of their being, feeling the pulse of the world, and responding in ways that are slow, deliberate, and full of quiet intelligence? Picture yourself in a quiet garden at night. The moon hangs low in the sky, casting silver shadows across the grass. A gentle breeze stirs the air, and every plant seems to be holding its breath, waiting, sensing, responding beneath your feet. The roots intertwine like a secret orchestra. Tiny movements ripple through the soil, like notes in a melody too soft for human ears. And above, the leaves vibrate ever so slightly, a response to the faintest touch of wind, the subtle footfall of an insect, even the distant rumble of a river. Scientists have discovered that plants are incredibly sensitive to vibrations. From the low hum of bees approaching flowers to the mechanical vibrations of water flowing underground, these signals are received through their roots, stems, and leaves, translated into chemical changes, shaping growth, behavior, and defense. In one experiment, researchers played the buzz of pollinating insects near a plant, and the plant increased the production of sweet nectar, as if preparing to welcome its visitors. It sensed the sound, anticipated the arrival, and responded in a way that could only be described as intelligence. But it isn't just insects that plants respond to. They react to music as well, though not with emotion like humans, rather with growth patterns, chemical changes, and energy distribution. When researchers played classical music to wheat, it grew faster, stronger, and produced more abundant seeds. When rock music played, some plants slowed, their leaves curling slightly, their growth stunted. It is as though they understood the vibration, they listened, and reacted in alignment with the pulse they detected. Imagine the quiet symphony of a forest, every leaf, every stem, every root vibrating in subtle resonance. The wind, the rain, the footsteps of animals. Even your own heartbeat sends vibrations through the soil, and the plants respond, not in haste, not with noise, but in slow, precise, deliberate movements. A leaf unfurls, a root redirects toward moisture. A flower opens slightly earlier than usual, all tuned to the invisible rhythms of the world around them. Some researchers believe that plants may even communicate through these vibrations, not with words, not with sound as we know it, but through subtle oscillations in their tissues, sending messages to neighboring plants, warning them of danger, signaling when resources are available, or simply aligning themselves with the pulse of life, a network of silent, vibrating conversation that hums constantly beneath our awareness. Consider the Mimosa pudica again, the sensitive plant that folds its leaves when touched. It has been shown that repeated exposure to harmless vibrations can teach it to stop reacting. In other words, the plant learns from vibrations. It remembers which oscillations are safe, which are threats, and it adjusts its responses accordingly. No brain, no nervous system, just an extraordinary sensitivity to the mechanical whispers of the world. Now picture the entire plant kingdom as a silent orchestra. Every root a string, every leaf a drum, every stem a flute, playing a symphony that you cannot hear, a composition of life itself. Some parts responding to wind, some to rain, some to the buzzing of insects, some to the faint vibrations of footsteps or sound waves. And though we cannot hear it, we can feel it, we can sense it, and when we are still, our bodies attuned, we become part of it. Even human activity sends vibrations through the environment. Construction, walking, talking, even breathing. Plants detect these vibrations, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically, and adjust their physiology accordingly. Some may strengthen their stems. Others close their stomata to conserve water. Some may redirect growth away from repeated disturbance. It is a dance between all living things, a pulse of awareness that connects the rooted with the moving. Did you know that sound waves can even influence plant metabolism, changing the production of enzymes and hormones, the way they photosynthesize, even how they defend themselves against disease. Vibrations, though invisible, have a profound effect, a secret language of energy that flows from one organism to another, from the earth into the roots, from the wind into the leaves, from the universe into the green world. Imagine lying beneath a giant tree at night, its roots entwined with others, its leaves quivering in the slightest breeze. If you close your eyes, you can almost feel the vibration of life itself, a slow pulse that travels through everything, connecting you to the soil, the roots, the branches, the sky. You are part of the symphony, even if you cannot hear it. Even if the world seems silent, it is singing, and you are listening. There is something mystical about the responsiveness of plants, something that hints at consciousness, or at least a type of intelligence we are only beginning to understand. A network of feeling and response, a system of vibration, a hidden symphony that has existed for billions of years, teaching patience, teaching attunement, teaching the subtle art of listening. And as you drift deeper into sleep, let this soundless music flow through your mind, the vibration of life, the pulse of plants, the rhythm of growth and response. It is everywhere, it is always present, and when you close your eyes, it carries you gently deeper and deeper into rest, into stillness, into the quiet knowing that life is listening, and that, in turn, you are part of this vast, eternal, vibrating symphony. So, as your body sinks into the bed, and your thoughts grow soft and scattered, feel the vibrations of the universe moving through you. Feel the pulse of the leaves, the roots, the air, the hidden rhythm that binds us all together, and let it lull you into sleep, slowly, patiently, like the quiet music of a forest at night, endless, invisible, alive. Have you ever wondered if the air around you is speaking, not in words, not in sounds we can hear, but in chemicals, in scents, in flavors that carry messages through the invisible currents of life? Have you ever noticed the smell of a flower before a rain, or the sudden scent of crushed leaves beneath your feet? What if those odors were not just incidental, but part of a secret conversation, a chemical language older than humanity itself? What if the plants around you are constantly talking, and we simply cannot understand the words? Picture yourself in a forest at twilight, the sky fading from gold to deep indigo, the first stars shimmering faintly above every leaf, every flower. Every tree is alive with silent communication. The air is thick with invisible messages, molecules drifting from one plant to another, each one a signal, a warning, an invitation, a story of survival in the plant kingdom. Scent is more than fragrance, it is a signal, a form of information that travels through the air and soil. When a leaf is damaged by an insect, it releases volatile organic compounds, invisible chemicals that drift to neighboring plants, warning them of danger. Within minutes, those plants begin producing defensive compounds, thickening their leaves, changing their taste, becoming less appealing to the hungry insect. It's a chemical conversation, a network of messages that flows through the forest like wind. And it happens constantly, even when the world seems quiet. Did you know that some plants can even attract the predators of their predators, turning danger into opportunity? A tree under attack by caterpillars may release chemicals that attract wasps. The wasps then feed on the caterpillars, protecting the tree indirectly. It's a dance of chemistry and survival. A negotiation written in scent, in molecules too small for us to see, yet perfectly understood by those who inhabit the forest. Now imagine the air in a garden buzzing with invisible messages, a rose releasing compounds that signal to a neighboring violet, a tomato plant warning its siblings about an approaching aphid. Even humans can sometimes perceive the echoes of this conversation. The smell of freshly crushed herbs, the fragrance of blooming flowers. These are traces of communication, signals once meant for other plants, now gently reaching us, subtle, soothing, and full of life. Taste is also part of this language. The way a leaf tastes is often a message in itself. Bitter chemicals can warn herbivores to stay away. Sugary nectar can lure pollinators. Plants create a complex vocabulary of flavor, shaped over millions of years of interaction with animals. Every bite, every sip is a word, a choice, a negotiation between species, even between humans and plants, though we rarely notice. We are part of the conversation too. Imagine a forest in spring, every flower blooming in sequence. The wind carries a symphony of chemical messages, invisible but potent. The violet signals that it is ready to be pollinated. The oak warns nearby saplings of impending drought. The pine whispers about pest insects. All these messages overlap, intertwine, and layer upon one another, creating a vast, invisible network of awareness, a web that pulses with the rhythms of life. A language older than any human tongue. Even subtle human activity can affect these chemical conversations. When we walk through a forest, when we touch leaves or brush against branches, we alter the molecules in the air, sometimes masking the messages, sometimes enhancing them. The forest responds, adjusting growth, defense, and chemical production, reacting to us without a single sound, without a single movement visible to our eyes. It is a language of presence, of influence, of interaction. Did you know that plants can recognize kin through chemical cues? A mother tree can detect which seedlings are her own, and preferentially feed them with sugars through the root network. It is a subtle form of family communication, a recognition system based not on sight or sound, but on molecules carried in the soil, the taste of roots and the scent of leaves, forming bonds older and stranger than any spoken words. Picture yourself lying in a quiet meadow at night, surrounded by the scent of wildflowers and damp earth, each aroma a message, each fragrance a story. The wind carries warnings, invitations, and greetings. Plants sensing each other in real time, responding to the rhythm of life around them. And you are part of it too. Your breath mixes with theirs. Your presence alters the flow of chemical messages, even as you rest, even as you sleep. There is something magical about this invisible conversation. It is suspenseful, mysterious, as if the forest has secrets it will reveal only to those who pause and listen. Every chemical released is both an answer and a question, a dialogue that stretches back millions of years, carried from tree to sapling, from leaf to insect, from root to root, silent, invisible, yet profoundly effective. Now close your eyes and imagine the invisible cloud of communication surrounding you, the forest humming with unseen words, the flowers whispering, the trees sighing, the soil vibrating with chemical messages. You are immersed in this soundless conversation, part of the symphony, breathing in messages too subtle to detect consciously, yet your body understands. Your mind begins to quiet, your heart slows. You feel connected to every living thing, part of the endless dialogue of life itself. Let yourself sink into the mystery. Let the invisible words of the plants fill your awareness. You do not need to comprehend them, only to sense, to float along with the rhythm, to feel the pulse of life flowing from root to leaf, from soil to sky, from one organism to another, and know that you are part of it, cradled in the quiet intelligence of the world, the chemical conversations of the living earth, whispering you to sleep, slowly, gently, eternally. Have you ever wondered if the world can speak without words? If life can sense your presence without eyes? If even the silent beings rooted in the soil can feel? Have you ever gently touched a leaf and noticed how it trembles, not from fear or thought, but as though it has recognized your touch? What if plants are constantly sensing, listening with their surfaces, feeling the faintest vibrations, the softest pressures, the gentle brush of air, as if the world itself is alive and aware? Picture yourself kneeling in a moonlit garden, the night air cool against your skin, the scent of wet soil and blooming flowers filling your senses. You reach out and touch the delicate leaf of a fern. It folds slightly beneath your fingers. A tiny, instantaneous reaction. You blink, and it seems to resume its quiet stillness. But in that moment, the plant has sensed you, recorded the contact, reacted in its own subtle, deliberate way. It is a hidden dance of awareness, unseen yet profoundly real. Plants sense touch in ways that are both visible and invisible. The Mimosa pudica, the sensitive plant, is a perfect example. When its leaves are touched, they fold rapidly, as if in acknowledgement. Yet repeated touches teach it to discriminate between harmless interactions and true threats. It remembers, it adapts, it decides, all without a brain, without nerves as we know them, only through the magic of cellular communication. A world that operates at a molecular and electrical level. Roots are equally sensitive, exploring the soil with exquisite precision. They detect obstacles, they sense gravity. They even respond to the vibrations of water flowing nearby. Roots can grow toward moisture, avoid danger, and form intricate networks with other roots, communicating and collaborating silently beneath the surface. A hidden world of touch, so vast, so complex. We are only beginning to understand it. Imagine a field of wheat swaying in the wind, each stalk bending not just with the force of the breeze, but subtly sensing the movement of its neighbors, adjusting, bending, aligning, a community of plants reacting together, like a silent choreography of touch and pressure. The forest floor is alive with this hidden feedback. Every leaf, branch, and root interacting, responding, learning, communicating without sound. Did you know that plants can even detect the footsteps of animals nearby, or vibrations caused by raindrops, or the touch of pollinators landing on their flowers? These mechanical cues trigger changes in the plant, adjusting the opening of stomata, releasing fragrances, producing nectar, or altering growth patterns. It is a form of perception that is slower than ours, yet no less intelligent, no less precise. In one experiment, researchers placed plants on vibrating platforms, simulating the subtle pulse of footsteps or nearby movement. The plants responded by altering growth and gene expression. Even without direct contact, the vibration alone was enough to trigger a response. They were feeling the world, anticipating it, reacting to it, a silent, invisible dialogue that flows through the physical world. Consider the Venus flytrap, a plant that demonstrates touch sensitivity with astonishing speed. When an insect lands on its trigger hairs, the trap snaps shut almost instantly. Yet it only does so after multiple touches, discriminating between random stimuli and real prey. It knows how to respond, balancing energy expenditure with survival. A level of decision-making based purely on touch, without a brain, without consciousness as we define it. Now, imagine a dense forest at dusk, the wind rustling through the canopy, branches brushing against one another, roots pressing through soil and stone. Every plant is sensing its environment continuously, reacting to changes in pressure, vibration, and touch. It is a vast, interconnected network of physical perception, a symphony of touch that operates below the level of awareness, yet perfectly tuned to the needs of life. Even human touch can influence plants. When gardeners gently prune, support, or handle plants, they stimulate growth and resilience. Plants respond not out of fear or emotion, but through their sensitivity to mechanical stress, a principle called thigma, where touch literally shapes form, guiding the plant to grow stronger, adapt, and thrive. Picture yourself walking barefoot across a meadow at night, the soil cool under your feet, grasses and wildflowers bending subtly beneath your weight. Every plant sensing your presence, every root, every leaf feeling the pressure, adjusting to accommodate, communicating with neighbors, a hidden network of tactile awareness. As old as life itself, there is a mystery here, a suspenseful wonder. Because plants feel in ways we cannot directly perceive, they are aware without thought, responsive without intention, learning without memory as we know it, yet their reactions are perfect. Survival, driven, elegant, subtle. Close your eyes and imagine the forest around you pulsing with touch. Every leaf and root responding to invisible pressures, a quiet intelligence flowing through wood, soil, and air. You are part of this tactile web. Every breath you take sending ripples through the living world, every movement felt, recorded, and responded to. The plants are aware, the forest is alive, and in your stillness, you become part of it as your body sinks into the bed and your thoughts grow soft and scattered. Feel the pulse of life through the ground, through the leaves, through the unseen network of touch surrounding you. Let it lull you into sleep, slowly, patiently, as the forest and all its hidden senses cradle you, alive, vibrating with life, and infinitely aware. Have you ever wondered if plants wage battles without weapons, without claws, teeth, or movement, yet survive in a world full of predators? Have you ever paused in a forest or a garden and imagined the hidden war waging silently among leaves and stems? What if the gentle sway of a tree in the wind, or the stillness of a flower at dusk, belies a calculated strategy, a silent defense orchestrated by chemistry, a system of signals and molecules older than humans and far more precise than we could imagine? Picture yourself in a dense forest at night, the air cool and heavy, mist curling around ancient roots. Every plant seems still, almost asleep, Yet beneath the quiet surface, a war rages. Predators approaching in the form of insects, fungi, and microbes, and plants are armed, prepared, aware in ways we cannot see. Plants produce a staggering variety of chemical compounds. More than 200,000 unique molecules identified so far. Many of them exist solely to protect, to repel, to deceive, to fight invisible enemies. Some release bitter alkaloids, turning leaves unpalatable to hungry herbivores. Others produce sticky resins, trapping insects that would devour them. Some even emit volatile chemicals into the air, calling predators to attack the very herbivores that threaten them. It is an elegant, invisible choreography of survival. Have you heard of the mustard plant, which produces pungent glucosinate, a chemical so sharp it can deter caterpillars? Yet when the same caterpillar approaches, the plant doesn't just defend itself blindly. It senses the attack, amplifies its chemical output, targeting the specific predator, almost as if it knows its enemy. This is not mere chance. It is a dynamic, responsive strategy, a form of intelligence written in molecules and scent. Even trees participate in chemical defense networks. When a branch is attacked, the tree releases signals through the air and the roots, warning nearby branches and neighboring trees. These messages trigger defensive responses, increasing bitter compounds, strengthening cell walls, making leaves less digestible. The forest becomes a coordinated army, silent, invisible, relentless. Imagine walking beneath an ancient oak at night, your footsteps stirring the fallen leaves, a deer nibbling on low branches nearby. You sense nothing, yet the tree has already detected the nibble. The chemical warning has traveled through its tissues, preparing nearby leaves for attack, a preemptive defense, a strategy millions of years in the making. Some plants take defense to a nearly mystical level. The tobacco plant, for example, produces nicotine, a compound that poisons herbivores. Yet it doesn't stop there. When attacked, it releases volatile chemicals that attract predatory insects, wasps that hunt the herbivores, turning an enemy into an unwitting ally. A battlefield strategy conducted entirely through chemistry, a soundless, invisible negotiation between species. Even flowers use chemical deception. Some orchids mimic the scent of female insects, tricking males into attempting to mate with them. Pollination occurs as a result, and the plant reproduces without offering nectar. It is a subtle, cunning manipulation, a survival tactic as elegant as it is deceptive. Roots, too, participate in chemical warfare. Some plants release allelopathic compounds into the soil, suppressing the growth of competing plants nearby, essentially asserting territory without a single physical confrontation. Other roots engage in symbiotic alliances with fungi, creating networks that transport nutrients to favored plants, rewarding allies and isolating rivals. A hidden underground strategy of defense and collaboration. Imagine the suspense in a single leaf, facing countless invisible threats, pathogens, insects, fungi, and bacteria, yet it senses, reacts, and protects itself, all without sight, without ears. Only through chemical awareness, a molecular battlefield orchestrated with precision. A war fought in silence, yet never losing. Even humans interact with these chemical defenses. Some molecules are medicinal, others poisonous. A hidden knowledge carried in plant chemistry. Humans have learned to read some of these messages, harvesting, cultivating, and using them. Yet the plants themselves evolved long before us, their strategies perfected through eons of trial and survival, a testament to the ingenuity of life itself. Close your eyes and imagine the invisible battles taking place around you. Every leaf a soldier, every root a general, every flower a cunning strategist. You are surrounded by silent sentinels, a forest alive with chemical whispers, invisible yet powerful, a symphony of defense that has been orchestrated over millions of years. Feel the suspense and intelligence of life flowing through every plant, the hidden messages, the chemical alerts, the responses timed perfectly. And as your body relaxes, let the invisible strategy of the forest lull you into sleep. Let the knowledge of resilience, intelligence, and patience settle into your mind. You are cradled by life itself, protected, aware, and gently carried into the night. Have you ever wondered if memory exists without a brain? If learning can occur without consciousness? If life can adapt and remember without ever thinking? Imagine a world where a plant can recall danger, recall the rhythm of light, recall the subtle touch of wind, and use that knowledge to survive. Have you ever noticed a plant responding to a stimulus, not immediately, but hours, even days later, as if it has stored the experience somewhere deep inside? What if plants are not just passive beings, but silent historians of the environment, recording, remembering, and responding with astonishing precision? Picture yourself in a quiet meadow at night, the stars reflected in the dew on the grass. Every plant seems still, every leaf gently trembling in the breeze. Yet beneath that calm exterior, a silent memory is unfolding. A rose that has been touched repeatedly adjusts the stiffness of its stem. A bean plant that has been exposed to shadows learns to orient its leaves toward light more efficiently. A single plant can remember previous conditions and use that knowledge to anticipate future changes. Scientists call this phenomenon plant memory, and it occurs in ways both subtle and profound. When Arabidopsis plants were exposed to cold for several days, they remembered the chill even after the temperature rose. This memory allowed them to flower at the right time, a precise adaptation to seasonal change. It is not thought, it is not conscious awareness, yet it is remarkably effective, a form of learning written in the chemistry and structure of the plant itself. Imagine the suspense in a single fern, feeling the vibration of nearby footsteps, recording that stimulus in its cells, adjusting growth and defense mechanisms accordingly. A leaf that has been grazed by an insect produces bitter chemicals faster the next time, a strategy that feels almost intelligent, like a memory guiding action without thought. Even root systems participate in this memory, communicating experiences through chemical signals underground. A plant attacked in one area can alert neighboring roots, priming them to produce defenses before they are directly threatened. It is a network of anticipation, a silent classroom of survival, where each plant learns from its own experiences and the experiences of others. Did you know that Mimosa pudica, the sensitive plant, can be trained to ignore harmless stimuli, remembering that certain touches are not threats? This habituation is a type of learning, where the plant modifies its behavior based on past experience. It shows that memory in plants is dynamic, adaptable, and surprisingly sophisticated. Consider a forest after a storm. Branches broken, leaves shredded. Plants respond not just to the immediate damage, but also to the memory of stress, adjusting growth patterns, strengthening structures, changing chemical production, all to anticipate future challenges. A quiet intelligence that ensures survival. An almost suspenseful foresight embedded in life itself. Flowers, to use memory to enhance reproduction. When pollinators visit, plants adjust the timing of nectar production, the opening and closing of petals, even the release of fragrant chemicals, optimizing the chances of pollination based on past experiences. Every interaction remembered, every response measured, all without consciousness as we know it. Picture a forest at dawn, the morning mist curling between the trees, each plant carrying the memory of yesterday, the lessons of wind, rain, touch, and light. Lessons learned not in seconds, but over hours, days, and even seasons. A silent record that guides life through countless challenges. Even the smallest herb is a scholar of survival, its memory shaping behavior, growth, and reproduction. Some researchers even suggest that plants can transmit memory to future generations through epigenetic changes in DNA, allowing offspring to inherit lessons about environmental stress. A form of ancestral knowledge carried silently across time, so that the next generation is prepared for challenges before they even occur. Imagine yourself lying under an ancient oak at twilight, feeling the earth beneath you, the roots reaching out like fingers into the soil, each root carrying the accumulated memory of storms, grazing, drought, and sunlight. Each leaf remembering the rhythm of day and night. The forest is alive with hidden histories, a suspenseful network of learning, adaptation, and foresight. Even humans interact with this memory when we plant crops, care for gardens, or walk through forests. We are part of a system that remembers, responds, and adapts, and in our stillness, we can tune in to this quiet intelligence, feeling the accumulated wisdom of life itself. Close your eyes and imagine the forest as a living library, each plant a volume of experience, every leaf a chapter, every root a paragraph, the lessons of survival, adaptation, and anticipation flowing invisibly. A system of memory older than humanity, cradling you in its gentle knowledge, guiding you into deeper rest, into slower breathing, into the understanding that life, in its many forms, remembers and carries that knowledge forward as you drift further into sleep. Let the memory of the plants flow into your mind, the quiet intelligence of adaptation, the lessons written in leaves, roots, and stems, the suspenseful dance of survival, and know that you are part of this living archive, cradled by the wisdom of life itself, slowly, patiently, infinitely. Have you ever wondered how life persists in silence? How organisms anchored to the earth can thrive without motion? How they capture invisible energy from the sun and the air, and transform it into sustenance and growth? Imagine a world where energy flows through everything, where the gentle sway of a leaf is not just movement, but a signal of stored power, a pulse of life moving unseen through cells. What if plants are not simply passive beings, but intricate engines of energy, harvesting sunlight, storing it, and releasing it when the moment is right. Picture yourself in a forest at dawn. The first golden rays breaking through the canopy, touching leaves and needles with a gentle glow, each leaf a tiny solar panel capturing photons, transforming light into the chemical energy that sustains life, chlorophyll molecules shimmering with quiet intensity. This is photosynthesis, the slow alchemy of life. Yet it is far more complex, more subtle, and more miraculous than you may realize. Inside every leaf, a dance of energy unfolds. Electrons move, bonds shift, molecules split and recombine. Water, carbon dioxide, and light are transformed into sugars, fueling growth, defense, reproduction, and survival. It is a rhythm perfectly timed with the sun, a silent symphony of chemical reactions, a process both fragile and resilient, and utterly essential to all life on Earth. But plants don't merely consume energy, they store it, a treasure hidden within their roots. Stems and seeds, sugars, starches, and oils accumulate, waiting patiently for the moment they will be needed, for a seedling emerging in spring, for a flower opening in summer, for a tree surviving the harshness of winter. Every cell becomes a reservoir, a battery of life force, slowly pulsing with potential. Imagine the suspense in a single acorn buried beneath the soil. It contains enough energy to grow into a mighty oak. Yet it waits in darkness, sometimes for years, until the conditions are perfect, until light, water, and soil align. Then it awakens, releasing its stored energy into rapid growth, a hidden power that has been quietly accumulating all that time. Did you know that some plants store energy in specialized tissues that can survive drought, extreme heat, or fire? Cacti, for example, accumulate water and chemical energy in their thick stems, preparing for months without rainfall. The saguaro cactus can survive in the desert for decades, living entirely off the careful storage of resources, a model of patience and resilience, an almost suspenseful mastery of energy management. Plants also use energy to communicate. Chemical energy powers the release of volatile organic compounds, warning nearby plants of danger, signaling to pollinators, attracting predators to defend against herbivores. The energy stored in cells is not merely for survival, but for interaction, a dynamic force flowing between organisms, a secret currency of life. Picture the hidden underground world, roots extending through soil, connecting with fungi in mycorrhizal networks, exchanging sugars, nutrients, and energy, an invisible system of distribution, where energy moves in waves, carried from one organism to another, a subtle pulse linking every living being in the forest, slow, deliberate, and almost mystical. Some researchers even suggest that plants harness electrical energy, tiny currents flowing through membranes, powering signal transmission, growth, and defense mechanisms. It is as if every plant contains a microcosm of energy, a silent, pulsating life force waiting to be tapped, responding to changes in the environment, and adjusting the flow to optimize survival. Imagine a single sunflower tracking the movement of the sun, each cell carefully directing energy toward growth, toward sunlight capture, toward the production of flowers and seeds, the entire plant orchestrating energy with precision. Every molecule aligned with the rhythm of life, every photon converted into sustenance. Every reaction a subtle act of intelligence, Even the smallest moss and lichen participate in this grand flow, capturing sunlight on shaded rocks, transforming air and water into energy-rich compounds, surviving in places where humans cannot, demonstrating a patience and mastery of energy few creatures can rival. Now picture yourself lying in a quiet meadow at night, the air cool and scented with flowers, the moonlight bathing the leaves in silver, every plant around you pulsing with stored energy, every root, leaf, and flower vibrating with life force, invisible yet profoundly present, a rhythm you can feel if you are still enough, a quiet, suspenseful pulse of potential and creation. Did you know that humans rely entirely on this energy, captured and stored by plants, from the oxygen we breathe, to the food we eat, to the wood that warms our fires? Even our medicines and remedies are powered by plant life. We are intimately connected to this hidden energy, part of the same flow, cradled in the patient and precise storage of life force. Close your eyes and imagine this energy flowing through the forest, through the leaves, roots, and stems, through every cell, carrying life, growth, memory, and potential. Feel it pulse beneath your feet, flow through your body, syncing your heartbeat with the rhythm of the plants, the hidden energy of life moving slowly, deliberately, infinitely. Let the knowledge of this energy settle into your mind, the suspense of its silent power, the wonder of its invisible mastery. And as you drift deeper into sleep, feel the forest cradle you with its quiet strength, its patience, its power, and the endless, unspoken rhythm of life itself. Have you ever wondered if the world you see and hear is just one layer of reality? If there are beings around you that perceive their environment in ways completely invisible to humans? Imagine a plant standing silently in a meadow, its roots anchored in soil, its leaves reaching for sunlight. Yet it is not passive, it is sensing, listening, feeling, responding in ways so subtle, so extraordinary, that we have only just begun to understand. Picture yourself in a quiet forest at night, moonlight glinting off dew-laden leaves, the air still and heavy, every plant seems motionless. Yet beneath the calm, a storm of sensation is unfolding, each leaf measuring the angle of moonlight, each root sensing the faintest vibration of water, the forest alive with invisible perception, a suspenseful network of detection and response. Plants perceive light in ways that are both fascinating and precise. Photoreceptors in leaves can detect not just sunlight, but subtle variations in color and intensity, shifts in shade that signal the approach of neighboring plants. Even the time of day and season are detected with remarkable accuracy. Some flowers open and close precisely at dawn and dusk, or only after specific wavelengths of light reach them, as if they are aware of the rhythm of the universe, responding with a patience and elegance that humans can only imagine. But their senses do not end with light. Some plants perceive sound, not as humans do, not with ears, but through vibrations transmitted through air, water, and even the soil. Roots can detect the flow of water underground. Leaves can respond to the buzz of approaching pollinators. Some species even grow differently when exposed to certain musical frequencies. A hidden symphony guiding growth, a suspenseful orchestration of life responding to rhythm and vibration. Touch is perhaps the most immediate and dramatic of plant senses. The mimosa pudica folds its leaves when disturbed, The Venus flytrap snaps shut with astonishing speed, yet touch is not merely defensive. It guides growth, shapes form, directs roots around obstacles. A tactile map of the world unfolding beneath the surface. Each sensation processed and converted into subtle changes. Movement, chemical production, growth, and defense. Imagine the suspense of a single flower, its petals quivering slightly as a pollinator lands, its roots sensing a shift in soil pressure. A neighbor touched by an insect releasing chemical cues. Every perception triggers an appropriate response, like an unseen, perfectly timed dance. The entire plant finely tuned to its surroundings. Did you know that plants can even detect gravity and orientation? Using specialized cells, called statoliths, to guide root growth downward, stems upward, adjusting growth to maintain balance and stability. Some plants sense changes in humidity, shifts in temperature, even the magnetic field of the earth, a sensory network that allows them to thrive in almost any environment. Even chemical perception is part of this extraordinary system. Volatile compounds released by damaged neighbors can trigger defense mechanisms. Sugars, acids, and hormones within tissues act as internal signals, guiding growth and adaptation. A plant perceives the world not just outside itself, but within. Every cell participating in a complex web of sensory input. Picture a forest alive with these hidden senses. Every plant attuned to light, vibration, touch, and chemical cues. The rustle of a branch in the wind, the faint vibration of a crawling insect, the subtle shift in sunlight as the moon rises, all sensed, recorded, and responded to. A suspenseful, intricate network of perception connecting the rooted with the world around them. Some plants even synchronize their actions with neighbors, opening flowers together, releasing scents simultaneously, adjusting growth in response to competition. It is as if the forest itself is aware, a collective sensory intelligence, each organism playing its part in a vast, hidden symphony. Even humans interact with these sensory networks, walking through forests, brushing against leaves. Our presence sensed in ways we cannot perceive, yet subtly influencing growth, movement, and chemical output. We are participants in a sensory dialogue, silent, invisible, and profound. Close your eyes and imagine the forest pulsing with perception. Every leaf, stem, root, detecting light, sound, touch, and chemical messages, responding with precision, patience, and intelligence. The suspense of unseen awareness surrounding you, flowing through the earth, the air, and the trees. A quiet symphony of life, constantly sensing, reacting, and adapting as you lie still. Feel this sensory network enfolding you, the hidden perception of plants guiding, protecting, and interacting with the world. Let it lull you into deeper rest, into slower breathing, into awareness of being part of a vast, living, sensing universe. And allow yourself to drift into the gentle, hypnotic rhythm of sleep. Have you ever wondered what intelligence really means? If it requires a brain, consciousness, or movement? Imagine a plant standing rooted in soil, unable to run, flee, or hunt, yet surviving, thriving, and even adapting in complex and seemingly intelligent ways. What if intelligence is not just the ability to think, but the ability to sense, process, and respond to challenges? to solve problems in ways that ensure survival. Have you ever considered that the plants around you might be quietly solving puzzles, responding to threats, optimizing resources, and making decisions without a single thought? Picture yourself in a dense forest at twilight, the fading sunlight casting long shadows over mossy trunks and fallen leaves. Every plant is engaged in a silent struggle, a challenge of survival, balancing growth with defense, water with sunlight, pollination with predation. Yet they accomplish this effortlessly, seemingly intelligent, a suspenseful dance of adaptation unfolding around you. Some plants demonstrate remarkable problem-solving abilities. Climbing vines navigate toward light by detecting gaps and obstacles, wrapping around structures with precision, avoiding thorns and sharp branches, all without eyes, without a brain. Guided only by chemical signals and subtle touch, it is a solution-oriented intelligence, written in cellular communication and growth patterns. Roots are equally clever, searching for nutrients in the soil, growing around rocks, seeking water, competing and collaborating with neighboring roots. Some even form alliances with fungi, trading sugars for minerals. A subterranean economy of exchange and problems, invisible to our eyes, yet astonishingly effective. Imagine the suspense of a single leaf faced with unpredictable sunlight, shading from nearby trees, shifts in temperature, and threats from herbivores. It adjusts its angle, changes its chemical production, and communicates with neighboring leaves, solving problems in real time, every moment a decision, every reaction a calculated adaptation. Did you know that some plants can even count environmental cues, responding only after repeated stimuli, like the Venus flytrap snapping shut only after an insect touches its trigger hairs twice? This ensures energy is not wasted, a strategic decision that maximizes efficiency and survival. A suspenseful display of judgment encoded in cells. Some climbing plants can sense the diameter of a support, deciding whether to coil around it or continue searching. A clear example of assessment, evaluation, and choice. Problem-solving without thought, yet astonishingly precise. Even trees demonstrate intelligent adaptation. When a branch is damaged, the tree reallocates nutrients, strengthens weaker limbs, adjusts leaf orientation, and can even modify growth patterns in response to neighboring trees. A silent intelligence operating across decades, responding to environmental pressures with patience, precision, and foresight. Consider plants in extreme environments. Deserts, alpine regions, tundras. They survive by solving problems of water scarcity, temperature fluctuations, and nutrient-poor soil. Cacti store water efficiently. Alpine flowers grow close to the ground to avoid freezing winds, and Arctic mosses photosynthesize at near-freezing temperatures. A network of adaptive strategies that rivals any engineered system. Picture a forest floor at night, moonlight filtering through leaves, every plant adjusting to microclimates, responding to subtle changes in humidity, temperature, and light, shifting resources, directing growth, a hidden intelligence, orchestrating the survival of an entire ecosystem, a suspenseful, invisible symphony of decision-making. Some plants even show anticipatory behavior, flowering in sync with pollinator activity, opening or closing petals according to light cues, adjusting chemical production in preparation for threats. A remarkable ability to predict events based on environmental signals. It is foresight without consciousness, strategy without thought, yet undeniably intelligent. Imagine walking through this forest. Every plant around you quietly sensing, deciding, adapting. The roots and leaves forming networks of information. The air filled with chemical signals. The soil vibrating with unseen communication. Each organism solving problems continuously, from micro decisions in a single leaf to macro adaptations in centuries-old trees, all in perfect synchronization. Even humans interact with this hidden intelligence. Every time we cultivate, touch, or harvest plants, we influence their problem solving, and in turn, they shape our world, providing food, oxygen, medicine, and shelter. A collaboration between human and plant intelligence that is silent, invisible, yet profound. Close your eyes and imagine the forest alive with this intelligence. Every organism solving problems, adapting, responding, and thriving. The suspense of unseen awareness surrounding you. A quiet, patient, infinitely intricate system. Let yourself feel cradled by the wisdom and adaptability of plants. The gentle reassurance that life finds solutions, even in silence, even in stillness, even when we are unaware, as you drift deeper into sleep. Let the hidden intelligence of the forest guide your mind. The subtle strategies, the adaptations, the solutions flowing around you. A world alive with problem solving, and you enveloped, cradled by the silent mastery of life itself. Have you ever wondered how a seed knows when to sprout? How a tree knows when to shed its leaves? How flowers know the exact moment to bloom? Even though plants cannot move, cannot see, and have no brain. Imagine a world where time is written into every cell, where every plant is a quiet, patient chronometer, sensing the rhythm of days, months, and seasons, adjusting, preparing, and responding with astonishing precision. What if the forest around you is not merely a collection of static life, but a network of timekeepers, each organism reading the invisible clock of the universe? Picture yourself standing in a meadow at dawn, mist curling gently over the grass, the first light of day illuminating wildflowers. Every plant seemingly still, yet attuned to the passing of hours, measuring light, temperature, and moisture with exquisite sensitivity. A leaf tilts subtly as the sun rises. A bud swells as day length changes. A tree strengthens branches in anticipation of seasonal storms, all orchestrated in silence, in perfect timing. Plants use internal clocks called circadian rhythms, timing processes to the 24-hour day-night cycle. Even in the absence of sunlight, plants can remember time internally, opening flowers, producing fragrance, releasing nectar, and photosynthesizing according to precise schedules. It is a biological metronome ticking through cells, guiding life with quiet suspense and patience. But plants also measure longer cycles, tracking seasons through photoperiodism. The length of day versus night signals critical events. From flowering to dormancy, from seed germination to leaf fall. The hidden calendars within plants ensure survival, preventing growth during harsh winters, maximizing reproduction during optimal seasons. A suspenseful choreography spanning months and years. Imagine an orchard in late autumn, leaves turning gold, red, and amber, each tree aware of shortening days, slowly redirecting energy from leaves to roots, preparing for winter. A silent understanding of time that humans experience only superficially. Every branch, bud, and root following an internal clock, perfectly synchronized with the environment. Did you know that some plants can even anticipate environmental changes? Not just react to them. Evidence shows that certain species prepare for droughts or frost days in advance, adjusting metabolism, chemical production, and growth. A suspenseful foresight embedded in genes and cellular memory. Time becomes a partner, not merely a backdrop, shaping strategy and survival. Some flowers bloom only at night. Others open exclusively during the day, even within a single species. Individuals can track time differently, optimizing their chances for pollination and survival. The hidden calendar is flexible, responsive to microenvironments, yet precise enough to ensure life cycles are maintained. Roots to participate in this temporal awareness, growing at specific rates according to seasonal moisture, branching when nutrients are abundant, pausing when conditions are harsh. A subterranean sense of time, as subtle as it is essential. Every cell orchestrating energy, growth, and survival according to temporal cues. Imagine standing in a forest at night, listening to the soft rustle of leaves, feeling the gentle sway of branches, sensing a rhythm that is invisible yet constant, the passage of hours, days, and seasons recorded in every stem and root, a suspenseful, delicate synchronization guiding the forest silently. Even extreme environments demonstrate this mastery of time. Arctic plants bloom within narrow seasonal windows. Desert flora time, growth with rare rainfall. Alpine flowers track fleeting warmth and light. Life adapts to time in ways both visible and hidden. Every strategy, a carefully measured response to the rhythm of existence. Humans interact with this hidden clock through agriculture, gardening, and observation. We learn from plants, timing, aligning, planting, and harvesting with their rhythms. Yet plants remain the silent keepers, teaching patience, precision, and resilience without words. Close your eyes and imagine the forest as a living calendar. Every organism marking the passage of time, every leaf, flower, and root following internal and external cues. The suspenseful anticipation of seasons flowing around you. A quiet, infinitely patient rhythm syncing with your own breath. Let yourself feel carried by this natural sense of timing, flowing slowly, and yet with a quiet suspense that is endlessly fascinating. As you drift into deeper rest, feel the rhythm of the plants around you, the hidden clocks, the internal calendars, the silent measurement of time guiding growth, survival, and life itself, cradled by the wisdom of nature, patient, precise, and infinite. And let this understanding lull you into a gentle, restorative sleep.